I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show!
Good morning, motherfathers. Well, happy Tuesday to all across the Delaware Valley. Hope everybody had a great night. It was a fun sports night last night with the NCAA championship game and fightings last night. And let's start with the championship game, UConn. And you kind of saw it. What I loved about it, and I was geeking out. And to me, I look at sports and I love these moments, right? Like, it's a big game. And, you know, so my little Massimo was like, you know, I said, Daddy, championship game. You don't watch a championship game with me? Yes. I was like, all right, like, you know, come down. And so we're watching a game and he's enamored like everybody else about Edey, right? So you look at what Edey was doing in the first half and just the brilliant coaching by Danny Hurley to not double Edey and to take Purdue out of its 3-point game. Now, remember, in the semifinal game, in the Final Four, they were able to hit a lot of threes that way. And, you know, that propelled them, right? Like, they doubled Edey all day, and it was kick out, open look. Well, Hurley switched it and said, look, we're going to allow Edey to get his, but we're going to take away the perimeter. And it was just from a basketball standpoint, like, you know, we all love the sport itself. That X and O move, that coaching move was just brilliant. It just was. It was, hey, and it was really the right move to do, which is to allow Edey to get his. He's going to get tired out. You take away all the whole supporting cast, and if you're going to give up twos, you give up twos. And you kind of got a little bit of foul trouble, and, you know, Edey, you know, kind of kept him in the game. But you knew at halftime what was happening. You knew at that halftime that UConn was going to run away with it. It was just, you felt it, right? That they're within, you know, Purdue played them really, really tough, and you're down 6 at halftime, right? So at some point, you knew that UConn would take that run. It is the Anthony Gargano Show, and we're presented by Rite Aid. Find all your favorite goods from the Rite Aid store nearest you. So you knew that, you know, at halftime, it was going to play out the way it was going to play out. But what is fascinating about it is that UConn won its 6th title, obviously back-to-back, but its 6th title in 24 years. That's just astounding. And I know that people say, well, the men's tournament wasn't any good, and the women's tournament took all of its shine and all that stuff. But I still love a big game. I don't know about you guys. I love, like, these big moments, big game, and it felt it. Now, the 9:20 start was a little bit of a, you know, it's so late, and I know they do it every year, but 9:20 tip is really tough on the East Coast, because I'm looking at my little man, and if you have kids or you have young kids, you have something to look forward to, because the bonding over sports. So he's asking me about, like, what do you do to stop Edey? And, like, we had this whole little conversation about the sport. And that, to me, that's what's priceless, right? Is that when you're watching it with kids and you're looking at it, and I'm telling my son, and I'm going, dude, like, this is what it is, right? They're not going to double him because you want to make sure that you're not giving up threes because that was Purdue's game. Anyway, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I was going back and forth, and, I'm a late guy, so, whatever. And I got to watch Phillies, right? Like, so then I was all in Phillies and then, clicked back and forth and followed the Phillies game while the basketball game started. So it was kind of that kind of night. For the Fightins, Rojas, let me just get out in front of it, VG, because Violations Greg, one of our contributors here on the Anthony Gargano Show, is a huge Rojas fan. So I go, that's awesome. 3 hits for Rojas. Good job. He actually got 3 hits. I was stunned. But, listen, it was a good start. To me, the best thing about it was another gem by Spencer Turnbull, right? Like, you get that kind of performance out of him. He's very economical. He had 82 pitches last night, 6 innings, 6 strikeouts. Only 2 hits. Obviously didn't give up a run, and those 82 pitches were terrific, right? Like that's a godsend. If you're going to get that from Turnbull, and you got to hope that Sanchez could kind of come around. I mean, your rotation is really intact. I never worry about bullpens this early. And now Sir Anthony gives up the home run, and Hoffman blows the save against the bottom of the order, which was a little disconcerting. And you're going to blow the save against the Cardinals' bottom of the order is a problem. And it's why I hate the way Topper uses his bullpen. I've always been old school about it. Like, to me, Alvarado should be the closer, and that's it, right? And then you have setup guys, and every 6 to 10 games, depending on how it falls with rest, if you want to give Alvarado a break and have somebody else close, that's fine. But Alvarado has to be the closer. Like, that's how I look at it. Now, I would start there and then do my setup guys, my late inning guys. I'm a big believer in roles for a bullpen. I know that's not the way it happens today, but I hate it. It's one of those kind of pet peeves. I like roles for the bullpen. Rojas, Marsh, another home run. Marsh needs to play. Castellanos 0 for 5. He's a little concerned. He's got to a slow start again. He's down to 114. And it was good to see Trey Turner get 3 hits. So it was overall, I mean, listen, it was a good win, and that's kind of where it stays, early baseball, which is good. One of the stories we have today is Bo Wolf, in fact, will join us, who does such a wonderful job on the PHLY Eagles show. So we'll talk to Bo coming up, because one of the stories that's making the rounds is Micah Parsons, that, he has fallen out of favor. There was a podcast that came out of Dallas where they talked about Micah being a handful, right, was kind of the term, and that people were in that room would be fine if Micah wasn't there. Now, and there's all kinds of speculation that there could be a trade, and, where everybody here is going, bring Micah home. Who wouldn't love Micah Parsons? I love Micah Parsons. Now, we obviously know from Penn State, his agent is Andre Odom, who I love. I love Micah. I think it would be perfect. We know how much he loves the Eagles. But I'm told that none of this stuff is real. None of this stuff is going to happen. There is no trade. Dallas is not going to move him. First of all, I think they got to be ridiculously stupid to move Micah Parsons. And as much as I would love him for the Eagles, that's not happening. And I heard from multiple people that stuff is a lot of noise, and that Micah Parsons isn't going anywhere. So all this stuff about the Eagles, when they trade, their entire draft, listen, anything I could do to get Micah Parsons, I'm in. I raise my hand. Yeah, give me Micah. Whatever I got to do to get him, I'm down. But none of that stuff's happening. They're not traded for him. None of it's going to happen. What I do think, and we'll talk to Bo about this, is they need to get an impact player on defense. And when we talk about draft, because we're going to have Baldy a couple times this week, we're going to amp up our draft coverage. And I desperately want a true playmaker on defense. I think that's what they need. I think they need a somebody in that, especially in that front seven, that's going to be a playmaker, man. That's going to be a disruptor. You got to have that. So that's kind of, to me, my big circle along offensive line, that sort of thing. And I know you need, whether it's a cornerback who's a top flight guy or a linebacker, you're not going to take it the first round, but you need somebody that's going to be a big difference maker on defense. You need playmakers, right? Like the thing that we learned about Kansas City was it's about playmakers. And on that side of the ball, they had a handful of them, and they rode that, right? They developed the young talent, the Chiefs did, but they rode the playmakers. You look at what Bolton did. He was so instrumental, all right? And up and down that defense, you had a handful of playmakers that carried them to a Super Bowl victory. And I think that's the only thing the Eagles are lacking right now is, who's going to be that big play guy on that side of the ball. So I like the circle. We'll talk to Bo about that. Your schedule coming up, Sixers tonight against the Pistons as they continue to try to fight to get to the 6th seed. And it's possible. You're only a game behind Indiana. So it's there. Flyers clinging to dear life are in Montreal tonight as they try to keep their playoff hopes alive. So we'll have a nice busy Tuesday. And, of course, Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Phillies. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's your morning popping off thanks to our friends at Olipop, the brand new soda. You're going to love the Olipop. Check it out. The Wawa has 2 of the great flavors. You got to check that out. And now I introduce my main man, John Zapata, my co-host, JP. Hello, JP. Good morning.
Buenos dias, cuz. How are you today?
Good. A little bleary-eyed.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the eclipse yesterday?
You know what's funny? Can I be truthful?
That's what
I always keep it real, right? In every which way. I remember the one in 2017, and it just didn't have a profound effect on me. So I hate the morning, right? So I'm a night person, and so I hate the morning. So what I usually do is I'm a napper. So
That's a European in you.
So I like to, yes, I like to stay up late, and then, we do the show here early. We're here, the whole thing. And then I usually grab an hour nap. And so I was napping during the kids went out and had the glasses. It was cloudy, so I don't think they got the full effect of it.
Spoiler alert, you really didn't miss much, cuz.
Yeah, I was certain things I get the momentous event, and I guess if you are in what were they calling it? The full
totality.
Totality.
Yeah.
Which I love the
Shouts
title
to Evan,
of it.
by the way, yesterday.
I'm a title guy, so I love the title totality.
Oh yeah.
It sounds big, right? It sounds awesome. It's totality. Like you're expecting rapture, right, to come from the sky. In reality, it gets dark for a little bit and it's over, right? Like that's kind of what it is.
We're all just staring up in the sky, like waiting for something to fall.
It's cool. Like, don't get me wrong. It's cool. I remember the last one. I was more into the last one. This one, I was like, I'm all right. I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah, I'll say Evan really hyped it up well yesterday. If you didn't watch it, make sure you guys check that out. Yesterday was a great.
So we had an astrophysicist, Evan Arena.
That was brilliant.
I actually want to get him on again, just to talk, universe. Because I love the universe.
What are you,
right?
Ilya Pascal over there? The universe.
The universe. So let me ask you,
yes, sir.
Did you watch the game? Did you watch the UConn?
I caught snippets of it. Obviously, listen, UConn back-to-back title. I mean, that's remarkable. I think we were talking about it with VG. It's just crazy. Like my whole lifetime, every 4 or 5 years, UConn's in the spot, are either winning it. This is their third coach that they've won it with.
I know we don't care as much here. like we're so hyper local that we don't care a lot about those kinds of games. We're not like, we have no emotional ties. Like, I think we love our emotional gravitational pull.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be a part of it.
You're
And
literally
so,
describing
when you're
me right
like
now.
when you're just a true onlooker, I like it because it's just the bigness of a game, right? It's
basketball.
a championship game, and as annoying as Danny Hurley could be, I love him. I'm a Danny Hurley fan. I mean, he's annoying and all, and he looks, he can get wear on you, but he's just such a great coach. Their offense, what they do offensively is sick. Like the movements, the cuts. I mean, you need that astrophysicist to break down that offense. The way they move the basketball and the way they get open shots. They're a great team. And if you just like the sport itself, it was just highly impressive.
You just described me because I don't think we've had this conversation. I am a diehard Temple guy. Like, I love Temple football. I love Temple basketball. But, like, I'm realistic, too. Like, I know, like, Temple football probably will never get to a national title in either one of those sports.
Well, we had the great run,
we did,
dude.
But how are we going to get back to that?
No, I know. You can't. In this NIL world, it's impossible.
I know.
It's impossible.
That's why it was cool, like, rooting for Nova, with Jay Wright here. Like, it was cool rooting for them. I wasn't one of those guys where, they're right.
Well, I love Jay, so
I was of course I was rooting for Villanova, but with obviously like right now
you made the right choice. How about Jay being the pitch man in what is it, hair cuttery? What is it, VG? What is the name of that thing? Clips,
sports clips,
super clips,
great clips.
Yeah, I lose track of all
clips,
these.
yeah.
Of all
Great
these
clips.
chain hair cutteries.
That's Andrew back there.
Hi, Andrew.
What's going on, guys? How you doing? Good morning.
No, but I always respected to me it goes like the Holy Trinity is the sport, right? Comes first, and then comes like your team, but the sport is a top, right? The sport's first. You have to look at your sport, then you look at it through the prism of your team, and then the player.
I'm actually the opposite. So, like, even
it's me, sport, team, player. What are you?
Like, even last night, like, you had the Phillies on and you had the national championship on. And obviously, national championship is a pretty big deal. But just me being a Philadelphian, I was more towards the Phillies last night.
Yeah. Well, you had a good stagger. But
I'm more of a basketball. So if I'm picking my pecking order of these sports, like, I love basketball more than baseball, but I love Philadelphia sports more than college basketball.
All right.
So that's kind of like how
it's interesting because like a championship in the grand scheme, the pecking order should kind of come first. All right.
No, I get that. I'm just weird.
I missed Nance.
Oh,
I love Nance. Like that guy we had Rafferty, but I missed Nance. Like Ian Eagle is a quality announcer
for sure.
But Ian Eagle, it feels like Bills Jets.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just think Jets Bills, not like grandiose NCAA championship game.
Yeah, no.
I think like Jets Bills in October.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, Jim Nance, it's just so soothing.
When the Eagles play at 4.
No, I also throw in Brent Musburger too, like growing up, listening to him,
Brent
like,
was
just sitting at the TV.
You talking my language.
Yeah,
with Brent.
Those voices, they never go old, man. You just love listening to it over and over again.
But it was Phils were good. I mean, it was listen. You know what I love about baseball? And I'll ask you. I love the companion of it. I love the fact that it's every night, right? Like that you could set your clock, like come 7 or 6:40 to 7:30. In that period, you're going to have a first pitch of Phillies baseball, and it's just a companion from April, to October.
It's relaxing, cuz it's like listen, we love our birds, but like Sundays can be a little stressful because like you only have now it's like 17 of those. Every game is so important. But baseball, last night, in hindsight, it didn't really matter, but it was fun. Like you sit back, you relax, you watch a little baseball. Spencer Turnbull definitely turned some heads last night. He looked really good.
Well, dude, listen, and I get third time through the order, and I was already having a debate with the VG. I bring him out to start the inning, start the 7th, and I know it's early. but it's 82 pitches.
Yeah.
Like Zach Allen threw 107 last night. Like I'm all right. Like start him, and then if he gets in a little trouble because it's third time around the order, then you take him out of the game. Have someone warm it up.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you can. I like him. I think I liked him in Detroit. He usually kept him in games. Mm-hmm. And he's a quality back end rotation guy.
But your point about the roles is so true. Like, especially when you're talking about athletes, these are creatures of habit. Like, they need those roles. But in this analytic age,
I hate it.
Crunching those numbers now, cuz.
I know. And to me, like, I just look at it like Alvarado's your closer. Just
I agree.
Roll with Alvarado, and everything goes off of that. I mean, he's not going to close every game for you, but he needs to be predominantly your closer. And then you fill in the roles around them.
Yeah, if you're looking at that bullpen, it's Alvarado closing those games. I'm with you. Give me that lefty. Give me that big lefty.
All right, so here's what we got going on today.
What we got?
All right, so coming up, Bo Wolf.
Woo.
We love Bo. Bo does he and Zach are terrific in our PHLY Eagles show.
Sucking a few back with the boys with Bo.
So we got Bo. We have the Daily Grind with our man, the Big Brain. All right, so we'll give you some baseball picks. Did he cash last night, VG? VG's on every one of his picks. Yeah, he's always cashing. Yeah. Well, I know. So we'll talk to Big Brain for the Daily Grind. We have Keith Pompey from the Inquirer.
Yeah, Keith.
To talk Sixers. Like, I'm really excited. And by the way, the Sixers will unveil this new jacket. In fact, Joel on Twitter teased it. We have a photo of this jacket. I love this red satin Sixers jacket. It's like the old starter jacket. So we'll show you that picture coming up. So we'll talk to Keith. And then we have Cousins Clubhouse. And in Cousins Clubhouse, I want to make the case about sports taking on a religious hold in our society.
I'm excited for this take.
All right. I really believe it. And it stems off a buddy of mine who missed a momentous occasion with his son. And it was the Bryce Harper three home run game. I'll tell you all about it. But he basically missed a chance at a Bryce home run ball.
Oh, my
It landed
God.
in his seat because they had another obligation. I'll tell you the story.
Oh, man.
But I want to propose something about sports as religion.
Okay.
All right? Because it's that important in our society.
All right. I'm ready for it. Well,
so we'll get into all that stuff.
Yeah. I want to propose something to all of our listeners here. I want to propose about a little breakfast with Bagels & Co., ladies and gentlemen. Brooklyn-style bagels.
Good transition, by the way.
I like that. Appreciate it. They're made right here in Philadelphia with that Philly love that we all love so much here. And, of course, guys, with inflationary prices here, ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm feeling it as well. That's why Bagels & Co. are hooking us up right now, because not only are their bagels affordable, and, guys, they're humongous, but their coffee is also cheap as well.
Humongous, as Briz would say.
As your mangus. I love that. So your $7 cup of coffee, no more, ladies and gentlemen. $3 for a cup of Joe. That's all you need. And back to these bagels, because every single day, 15 to 20 different types of bagels to select from. And with that, we need a large selection of cream cheese and schmears, 30 different types to select from every single day. And of course, like I mentioned, those prices are extremely affordable. So what are you waiting for, ladies and gentlemen? Head on over right now to find your local Bagels & Co. thebagelsandco.com/store locator. Again, that's thebagelsandco.com/store locator. You might find the cousin and I drink a little espresso a little bit later. We'll see. Thank
I
you,
like
Bagels
it.
Co.
I like a little
Right?
espresso.
Yeah.
Let's go, man. We're in, buddy. Let's talk about TruMark Financial Credit Union. And thanks to our friends at TruMark Financial Credit Union for sponsoring the program. But I got to tell you, they're awesome. I didn't know much about credit unions, and it really is impressive. See, when you join a credit union like TruMark Financial, you become part owner, which means the profits, well, they come back to you, not the shareholders. See, you get better rates, you get lower fees, you get a better return on savings, you get more flexible options, and we have all the same digital tools as a bank. Like we need our digital easy banking. Well, they have all that. There's so many benefits. But this is the thing I like the most, all right? TruMark has local roots. The credit union is all about here. And TruMark is headquartered in Fort Washington. They have 24 branches in the Philadelphia area. See, they serve our community. They serve our people right here at home. It's pretty amazing. And becoming a member of a credit union has benefits so many more over being a customer at a bank. I fell in love with TruMark. Their CEO, Kelly Body, is a true Delaware Valley inside and out. She's a crazy, 4-for-4 fan, the whole thing. And it just kind of, it hammers home the point that it's all about local. And I'm always about local. So you can head over to TruMark.com/PHLY to learn more. You can find a branch near you. That's TruMark, TruMark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA. All right. Welcome back to the program. And I'm very excited as our next guest. He does such a wonderful job with Zach Berman on the PHLY Eagles show. Bo Wolf. Bo, good morning.
How we doing? How about the TV magic, the swap out mid ad read?
Well, not only
what a
that,
crew here.
Not only that, somehow a cup of coffee appeared. Well, I got a freshener,
magic.
Right? I
gotta tell you, I'm usually on that side, so I feel like a little uncomfortable. I feel like I'm playing left-handed. This is like,
dude,
I'm going over to right tackle after my whole career at left tackle.
It's true. That's very real. Like switching sides. I don't know. I the same way at home in bed with my wife.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like she always has her side, and I got my side.
And when you go to a hotel, you stay on your side.
Same
right?
exact
You
thing.
gotta stay. Absolutely.
Stay on the side. And of course, my Mosco's in the middle, so
Yeah,
that's how it always works.
It's chaos if you start switching sides.
You can't.
Ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, Bo, you're right on, man. Stay on your side. That's a lesson.
That's absolutely right. No doubt about it.
I got lots of things I want to discuss with you. And first of all, this is the first time I get to hang with you on the show.
I'm excited.
I mean, this is
Thank
great.
you for having me.
No, thank you. And thank you for your hard work and all you do during the Eagles beat. It's terrific stuff. You and Zach just slay it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. I think Zach has a lot to deal with.
So, so the big story everybody's talking about today is Micah Parsons. And so I'm pretty close to the situation. I've talked to a lot of people, and I hear that there's nothing remotely close. Like, that's not happening. There's no Micah Parsons trade in the works. They're not getting rid of him.
How could they? He's
that's
the
point.
best young pass rusher in the NFL, right?
Exactly. Now, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of talk that he's a handful and this and that. And you saw that report out of Dallas.
Sure. Yeah. And it's one of those things where you don't know exactly what to believe. And there's probably like half truths in there.
Yes.
But, this would not be the first time that Jerry Jones has had to deal with a good player who is a bit of a handful off the field. If that is the case, it's hard to imagine they're in a situation.
I love the kid. I know the kid. I don't see any of that. Now, I'm not in that locker room, and I don't know.
Well, to them, you would imagine that a kid being an Eagles fan is a huge problem. So maybe that's what they're talking about, right? Like he's a handful because he likes Devontae Smith.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you talk about dream scenarios, and having a guy like Micah would be the ultimate dream. I can get lost in the fantasy. But it's not reality.
Well, and it's always interesting to think back to that draft, that 2021 draft, when the Eagles took Devontae Smith and they traded with the Cowboys to go up 2 spots, and then the Cowboys stay at 12 and get Micah Parsons. And I always think back to like that Penn State staff. How is it that they were not just playing this guy who's the best edge rusher in the NFL on the edge? And if they were, he would have been a top 5 pick, right?
I mean, are you kidding me?
And so, okay, the Eagles aren't going to draft a linebacker, but if they had evaluated him as an edge rusher, you better believe they would have taken him over Devontae Smith.
I think that they would have. If they get Jefferson, now things change, right? Because you're not in the same draft spot. But had they gotten the receiver and they had gotten Justin Jefferson, I think they would have looked at him, because I do know that they were looking at him off the edge. Like, NFL people were looking at him off the edge.
Yeah, and I think it was also, there was the question mark because he hadn't played. He sat out the COVID year, right? So there was a little bit of a question. Devontae Smith was not the Eagles' like top goal they wanted Patrick Surtain.
Yep.
They wanted J.C. Horn. Both of those guys went before. And so it seemed like Devontae was the last guy of that tier. And so Howie trades up 2 picks to get him. I think they were just a little bit unsure about Micah Parsons, whether he was going to be, just an edge rusher.
And you would have wondered, though. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, if you would have had the way
Jefferson and Parsons.
Yeah, the way it would have fell out. I mean, it's that's the beauty of the
Jefferson,
draft.
you're probably not picking there,
Exactly.
right?
And that's why it's all nonsense. But it's fun. It's always fun to look back, and that's the beauty of our draft. Like looking at the draft, I think that's why in Philadelphia we're so enamored with the draft. Like we love being draftniks. That's a big part of it. By the way, it's 9:30 right here on the Anthony Gargano Show, and we're brought to you by TruMark Financial Credit Union. So, I think the biggest need is obviously a playmaker on defense. Where you at? Like, how do you kind of sizing this thing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Howie Roseman has done a good job papering over the roster enough that they don't need to force a specific position in the first round, and that's where you get in trouble. That's why that's part of the reason they missed on the Rager pick, because they needed a specific type of wide receiver. They didn't fill that spot in free agency. I think they've done a pretty good job, and so like. Knowing Howie, I think that he wants to probably focus on the positions he normally wants to focus on, and that might be offensive line or
edge,
defensive line, right? Yeah. Exactly. But I do think that corner is a possibility. And, Terry and Arnold, the guy from Alabama, is a guy who checks all the boxes, and I imagine would be someone that they might be willing to trade up for. After that, you're talking about, everybody loves the story of Cooper DeJean, the Iowa kid. I mean, like the odds of a white guy from Iowa being a corner on the outside, but he's this crazy athletic guy. I was just watching his basketball highlights out there.
He's a great athlete.
He tested at his pro day yesterday. Jumped out the gym, all that stuff. I don't know if they would be willing to pull that trigger. I feel I think it's reticent.
A little too. Yeah, I think that's a little too early.
Yeah, I think it's not exactly their profile, right? And not just because he's a white guy, but because he's from a Big Ten school, hasn't played the same level of competition. And there is some question mark about what position he can play. I mean, I do think that tackle is a realistic possibility. And I know that like people don't want to sit around and wait for a guy to make an impact, but that's what Howie does. Like,
listen, that part of roster construction is important, right? Like the one thing that this team has been like superlative at is offensive line and depth along the offensive line and building that line together. Now, there's some argument like, do you want to pick a guard in the first round?
Sure.
Because that's kind of what you're looking at.
It's not good value.
Right.
I think if you're going to take the guy, he has to be the eventual Lane Johnson replacement.
Yep.
And maybe he can then play guard this year. I mean, it is true. We talked about it on our show yesterday. We had Fran Duffy on, and we talked about all these tackles and like the history of where these guys come from. If you want a Pro Bowl tackle, you got to pick them in the first round. Like they do not come from outside the first round. And so if you think that Howie wants
to... Isn't it interesting that tackles... Now, I again, when you look at, and I'm not counting guys that were projects, all right? Like, you're not looking at guys that, that somehow switched positions, like you've seen some
like
of that.
Jason Peters, sure.
Right, like some guys. But like to your point, tackles are first rounds and early picks, and guards you find later, and centers.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I have like, and I'll have a story on all PHLY later this week or next week about all the history of like the last 10, 12 years, where the Pro Bowlers and all pros come from. And tackle is second behind quarterback. Like those guys go early, and there are fewer busts than the quarterback. It is arguably the position that the league drafts the best, whereas guards, like they're a little bit older. They don't have to be from Power 5 conferences. They come in the second, third, and fourth round. Like those guys do come later. So like if you're going to draft a guy in the first round, he better be the eventual Lane Johnson replacement. Now, you talk to Baldy. Baldy's close to Lane. Lane wants to play 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But like, can the Eagles count on him staying healthy? They would tell you that when they have bad seasons, it's because the offensive line blows apart. They have injuries there. And you talked about depth. Like, they lost a lot of the depth. Jack Driscoll's gone, Su'a-Opeta's gone.
Yeah, Driscoll,
they need bodies in that room.
They do.
So I do think that's a realistic possibility, but it wouldn't be as exciting as a guy like, Terry and Arnold, who can come in and start right away, and you could play him all over in the secondary.
Yeah, and you look at it, because if you can't get lost in this, I want to try to win now and use the draft You always got to keep in mind that the draft
It's big picture.
is
This
always
is your chance for
it's how
talent
you
acquisition.
sustain it,
Yes.
right? Like you sustain greatness and you sustain taking your shot. It's the whole thing about let me hang around and I can take my shots at a Super Bowl because every year is different when it comes to injuries. But if you keep your core and keep replenishing your offensive line and your defensive line, and let's talk about the defensive line for a second,
Yeah.
because we all were loving those drafts with all the Georgia kids, but Jordan Davis has been an issue, right? Now I'm sold on Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter will be fine.
He's a stud.
All right, but everything else, there's question up and down with those kids.
I totally agree. Now, you start with Nolan Smith. Last year, like second half of the season, they needed somebody to hit the quarterback in the worst way. They needed somebody to take the snaps away from Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick, who were just getting run into the ground in the worst way. And they still didn't trust Nolan Smith to be on the field. And this is a guy who was a 4-year player at Georgia. I know that he's
in big games.
like
I mean,
a
obviously,
project in terms of like
size,
turning his body.
Yeah.
But this is a guy who should have been ready to play, and they didn't trust him to be ready to play. And so that's a concern to me. Obviously, they're going to expect him to play more this year. Jordan Davis, the early part of the season, he had it, man. And it was like, oh, here it is. Year 2, he has developed a pass rush plan. I thought it was like the first 4 games of the season, the most exciting part about the roster was that Jordan Davis was turning into a pass rusher. And then it fizzled out. It was gone. And so they need to make a real decision about what they're going to do. Do they think that he can be a 3-down player? Because no Fletcher Cox. I thought Fletcher Cox was the best defensive player on the team last year.
Dude, I got to tell you, I mean, it was so impressive how Fletch played. Like I was, because I didn't expect much from last year. I thought, wow, this is and you talk to any veteran and they'll tell you like the last 2-3 years is the steel contract where you're just going to kind of set yourself up and grab a big
I
fat
thought that
paycheck.
was his best year of the last like 4.
Yes.
Like he was really, really good.
Yes.
And so they got to replace him. And like I like Milton Williams a lot. I think they will eventually try to extend him, but that's just 3 guys there.
Well,
you
to
might
me,
need somebody else.
The key is going to be on Milton Williams and on Sweat because look, you chose Sweat over Hassan Reddick.
Well, I think it's
Sweat and Bryce, but
I think they chose Sweat and what they could get for Reddick over Reddick and what they could get for Sweat.
Yeah.
I think they found out they weren't going to be able to get anything for Josh Sweat. But, I was listening to the beginning of the show, like they could use a weapon on the edge. Boy, what if they could call up the Jets and get a guy like Hassan Reddick on this roster, right?
Dude,
like,
I mean, come on.
It's brutal.
It's a killer.
And to me,
it's why, when fan bases grumble, because you go, well, you guys right here.
Yeah.
And I'm close to Hassan. So I got to tell you, I love him. People say, well, he's trying to get his numbers and all.
He's such a fun player to watch.
He
too.
is.
You can't keep your eyes
give
off
me a
him
break.
on the edge.
Reddick was a legit disruptor, and it's amazing. When he starts his career, everybody had him playing in the wrong spot. Oh my God! Don't get me started.
It's annoying, but I do think that the big picture here, and you talked about it. I think the reason that they think they could be a little bit lighter on the edge is because they're counting on Jalen Carter to be the guy.
Yeah.
And if Jalen Carter can take the attention of opposing offensive lines, and
you get singled out, man.
Right. If they're going to focus on doubling Jalen Carter, right, all of a sudden you've got one-on-ones for Bryce Huff, and maybe Nolan Smith can take advantage, and maybe they draft a guy in the middle rounds who can be part of that rotation.
What are you hearing about Nolan Smith? Like, seriously, I know you talked about, but, can he's got such great quickness, and he's light, but what about developing those moves? Like, have you talked to anybody?
Good question.
There?
I mean, I know that they feel positive about him in the building. They like the guy, they like the character, and they think that he has, as Howie would say, the tools in his body, right?
Yeah.
But I'm always a little bit skeptical of guys on the edge who have not produced in college. And there are all these excuses for why this isn't the case at Georgia because they rotate and it's not really what they're asked to do. And it was the same thing with Jordan Davis, but. I mean, if you are the best athlete at that position that we've seen come out, and you played 4 years at Georgia, and you never had more than 3 sacks, I don't know. Am I really going to expect you against a higher level of competition to totally turn it on? I'm a little bit skeptical.
Yeah. Hey, the first time we kind of were able to talk about this,
Sure.
But do you see a change coming out of Sirianni when it comes to how hard you practice, how much you do. Like, because I do know inside they feel like they just didn't not work hard enough, but they weren't pushed hard enough. And they felt toward the end of that season, they wilted and they got weak. And I could see a sea change in Sirianni's kind of mindset for this season and how hard you push them early and really throughout.
It's going to be really interesting to follow because the calculation you're always making, right, is the most important thing we can do is keep the guys healthy. And so if that means practicing light during training camp and it means we're going to be a little bit less prepared week 1 and 2, you probably take that trade-off, right? And, they didn't play well at the end of the season, but they were pretty healthy, and they were really healthy the year before for the Super Bowl.
So let me ask you a question. Where does that come? It's fascinating, right? Because, look, they got off to a great start. They're 10-1.
Yeah.
Whole thing. But they wilted.
Yeah.
So where does that come into play? Because it's not about training camp as much as it's training camp and through the season.
I think that's part of it. And I think this also comes down to like the power dynamics in the building, right? Like Nick Sirianni, when he came in, was not the guy who was like the most powerful person in the building, right? He's willing to do what Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie think he care a lot about sports science, right? So they're going to tell him, this is what the data says. We want you to follow this. And he's going to follow it. Now he's in a situation where he's coaching for his job, basically, right? And this is a guy who is a football guy through and through. I would not be surprised if he wants to lean a little bit more into practicing more and being a little bit harder on the guys. There's also the Vic Fangio aspect of this. Like, Vic Fangio is not a guy who probably doesn't want to practice. This is, he's like the caricature of this curmudgeon,
the football coach.
Right, this football guy. So,
which I love those guys. Like,
sure, of course.
They're my favorite. I love those.
And we've already seen some changes. They're going to be doing more in the spring than they did last year. Last year, they were coming off the Super Bowl, so there's more reason to give guys time off. But we're seeing a little bit of a change there. I don't know what it's going to look like down the stretch of the season, but I do know that, having been around the game for over a decade, like if a guy feels like his back is against the wall, he's going to do something different. And so Nick Sirianni, the book is that he is a player's coach. He's really hard on his coaches, but not as hard on the players. Maybe that changes a little bit if things are
I could just see, because I know that that's something that's being talked about inside the building, about how they finished and kind of how they really.
They're all looking for explanations.
Like, they felt like they were weak toward the end of the year, and they just kind of crumbled, and that needs to and of course and Jalen obviously needs to have a little kind of almost a redirect back to where he was.
And I think one of the things to follow is that relationship, the Sirianni-Hurts relationship. It's always hard, like how much do you read into what guys say, what they don't say, and like when Jalen doesn't pound the table for support of Nick Sirianni at the end of the season, people are like, is he sending a message? Like, is that a big deal? I think it's probably just Jalen being Jalen, but Sirianni coaches hard, and if Jalen Hurts doesn't think that Nick Sirianni is getting him better and putting him in a position to get better, I don't know if that relationship is great.
Thinking about Jalen for 1 second, people say he was different last year. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around as much during the season, so it's hard for me to say. But I have heard that like there was a bit of a different air about him as like the guy who had gotten paid and is doing like these commercials and all these things. I don't really think that I don't think that's an explanation for why anything went wrong. And it's maybe just like a couple people who think that, but it is something that has been.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and the one thing that it was true, and Roldy and I break the tape down, 7 ways from Sunday every week, and he was leaving the pocket early, way too early,
but also not running.
I know, but he would see, instead of sliding up or finding some space, and he was just leaving early when he didn't have to.
I know when I close my eyes and think of the 2023 Eagles, the play that is like seared in my mind is over and over again. Jalen Hurts leaving the pocket, scrambling to his right, looking down the field, and
nobody's there,
and throwing the ball away.
Yeah,
like that. What did that happen? 40 times this year,
and it was always going around the right, and there was no hot, there was nothing for him to go,
and he also wouldn't take off.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
and that was such a weapon. If you look back 2 years ago during the Super Bowl run, I mean, it's always been the back break. It's 3rd and 8, and the quarterback runs for 14, and the defense, had another 3 downs.
And it makes things
and
easier
that's
for
what
the
he
running
did.
back
Yeah,
because you're taking attention away from the defense. That's the thought process behind why you pay Saquon Barkley is because if opponents are going to be focused on Jalen as a runner and AJ Brown and Devontae on the
Space,
outside,
baby.
all of a sudden Saquon Barkley is going to have all this space and who's more athletic in the open field than him? That's what you pay for. But if Jalen is just a pocket quarterback now, which I don't think is the case, the calculation changes.
I'm with you, Bo. Great stuff, my brother. Great to hang with you, dude.
Thanks for having me.
I love it. There he is, Bo Wolf. Make sure you follow PHLY Eagles and see all the great work that Bo and Zach Berman do together. Thanks, buddy.
Of course. Talking edge rushers today. I'm working on my pronunciation. Leatu.
Nice.
Close enough.
Edge. I'll be watching edge rusher, baby. It is time now as our daily grind, where we take a look at the world from a betting standpoint. But, of course, beyond just the betting aspect of it, we like to visit with the big brain because ultimately he's a sports geek. So we give you the daily grind really as a way to nerd out. So let's go to our man. Do we have him? The big brain. Good morning, big brain. So I judge by that smile that you got out of your Purdue. You hedged nicely.
Well, it's interesting, Anthony. I told you I didn't do anything before the game. I didn't, and they never really got that lead, but I did make big bets live on Connecticut -9.5, -10.5, -12.5. All 3 got there. If I had the choice of winning those 3 bets or Purdue winning, would have chosen Purdue winning, but I still did very, very well. I chose not to make a lay -300 before the game started, Anthony. I don't regret it. I knew UConn was better. I was hoping maybe they would just get off to they started slow. Maybe I could get off to 16-10 lead, then get out of it, kind of like the women's game that we talked about. Didn't happen. UConn was better. You called it. They're just a better team if they played the game. If they played this tournament, it's crazy to say this. If they played this tournament 100 times, the tournament, not the championship game, I think you can argue UConn would win it half the time.
Yeah, I
really
listen.
do.
They didn't get. There was no sweat. The
it was
entire
incredibly impressive
run, they were never pushed to the brink. They never were in jeopardy of losing. The Daily Grind brought to you by the Bet Parks app. Download it today. You're going to bet Parks. I was just supremely impressed. And at halftime, when Connecticut's up 6 and Purdue, played well, like they were in it.
They did. That was the thing.
You knew that UConn was going to run away with it.
Well, Anthony, here's what I thought, and tell me if you agree. Now, listen, to upset the better team, right, you need things to go your way. We all know that, right? We need things to go your way. I think there was 5 or 6 offensive rebounds, it seemed like, that UConn got to keep possessions alive, and they end up scoring on them on top of it. When you're the inferior team, you have to get those loose balls, those rebounds. You just can't give the better team more cracks at it, and that's what they did. Again, they were going to lose, and in all likelihood, but so if they were going to win, the script had to play out beautifully for them, and they did play well, but I just thought there was a couple rebounds that Connecticut got that kept their possessions, and maybe instead of being a 36-30 game at halftime, maybe it could have been 30-28 Purdue or 30-30. Think of all those offensive rebounds. Still would have lost. Still would have lost, Anthony. But look, it was, and Edey did. I thought Edey did a nice job. I thought he played, as well as he really could have.
Well, off of that point, I just thought Danny Hurley came with the perfect plan, which is, okay, let Edey get his.
And it always wins that way, right? It always seems like if you look at sports, Anthony, you've been following it forever and a day. It always seems like when that scenario happens where, okay, you let the one star get his, but everyone else is going to get Jack, what? Well, it always seems like it works. It just does. And that's what we saw yesterday.
He expends energy, right? So you have a big, he's 7'4", big kid. So he's going to expend energy. And one guy isn't going to beat that UConn team. Like, they needed to shoot threes. And the beauty, to me, the
how many did
brilliance.
they make, Anthony? Like they only have like 1 or 2 threes the entire game.
Yeah, because guess what? They took away their shooting space. So how does Purdue look at the Final Four game on Saturday? They get their space because teams double Edey, right? So when you
100%.
double down on them, it's a quick pass to get the open look. And so Connecticut didn't do a lot of that, and because of that, those open looks never really materialized.
Anthony, you nailed it. No, you nailed it. And look, again, credit to UConn, the better team. They look well coached. There's nothing I can say bad about the team. I mean, look, they dominated the regular season. They dominated the postseason. Listen, they deserved it. Kudos to them and their fan base for winning back-to-back championships, which, as is not an easy thing to do.
Hey, real quick, off of college basketball. So you had a ticket 40-1 for Purdue. When did you play that ticket? Like, is now the time? Like,
yes,
now's the time to do it for next year, right?
Yeah, that now is the time. Listen, now with the Edey, with the Purdue thing, it was a little different, Anthony. What I do, and it's, by the way, this thing has gotten harder as I've gone on. It used to be like 15 years ago, 10 years ago even, but now since the internet and everything is information so quick, I used to look up who were going to be projected, how many seniors are back, who's projected top 5 for next year. And I remember I was getting teams that were being number 1 seeds at like 40-1, 50-1, consistently. No longer. Now it's gotten a lot harder. But Purdue with Zach Edey, Anthony, there was a lot of concern, would he come back or not next year? And if he was out, obviously his team was nothing. They were trash. But if he came back, I thought the odds would go to like 12-1, which they did. And I thought there was above a 50% chance he was going to stay. I was getting 40-1. Theoretically, I thought maybe if I would have blended a Brendan Price, maybe of 20-1 if someone wanted to bite. But at 40-1, I thought it was worth the risk.
So you'll look at it now in the next coming week about
next like today. Yeah, I usually would have done it last night, but I literally, dude, I have no time. I wake up so early now doing this. I'm just doing the props, literally like 5 a.m. Getting my stuff in, and I was literally working. I was like a minute late on your thing. I was working literally from 5 a.m. to 9:41 a.m. doing my stuff because that's what I do, and I take it so seriously. I just like OCD with it. I can't help it. You got to get in the best bets.
Well, that's good. That's why you should visit bradsbestbets.com or follow Brad's Best Bets on Twitter because he is I will tell you, I believe you are the prop king. You gave us a couple yesterday in baseball that won. Give us some more. What did you find for baseball today?
I'm going to give you Cole Ragans, Anthony, and I know you know Cole Ragans,
the Royals.
Pitcher for the Kansas City Royals, really good pitcher. 11-2 to this over. 11-2 to this over. This guy's a dominant strikeout guy. Now, why is this number only 5.5? There is a reason. They're going against a very, very tough team to strike out in Houston. But I think when there's elite guys, elite K guys, I'm willing to maybe go take the tougher matchup. Again, if this was, let's say, a pitcher who, I'm just trying to give an example, like Ranger Suarez, and his over-under is normally, let's say, 4.5, and they make it 3.5. I'm not going to bite on that because he's not an elite K guy. But when it's a dominant
when you say K guy, just for people watching, Brad's really referencing not just strikeouts, but swing and miss. Like
absolutely.
Swing and miss is everything.
Everything, yes.
That's the basis. If you have swing and miss stuff, it's the basis for your strikeouts.
100%, Anthony, and that's what you're looking for, exactly that swing and miss stuff, which is what we talked about on the first day, Anthony, when we gave out Jones over 5.5 Ks. He's a guy who has a very, 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 very high swing and miss rate, so I'm going to be looking to take him again. But anyway, going back to Cole Ragans, tough matchup, but again, I was actually able to get plus 104 on this bet. I think it's at least a 50-50 bet, and even that just alone makes it profitable, but I think the bet probably goes 3-2, so I do like Cole Ragans over. I'll give you another one, Anthony. Nate Eovaldi, good pitcher, right? Very good pitcher for the Texas Rangers. But again, I bet numbers, Anthony. I don't bet players. Here's a perfect example. They made his over-under 7.5 strikeouts. Now, he has an easier matchup against Oakland. They're like the 22nd hardest or easiest team to strike out of 30. So in the bottom quarter, they're not a good team, but they're not the worst strikeout team. But they made it 7.5. Anthony, in his 28 games last year, it was 24-4 to the under. In addition, I go back and I looked at other native all the years. He's always been a guy that gets about 1 strikeout per inning or less, usually less. So 8 is a big number. There's a lot of ways for us to win this game, this bet. He cannot have his good stuff and lose. He can pitch a good game and only get 7 strikeouts. They could be up 8-0 after 5 innings and lift them. 8's just not an easy number. I think it's too high. I would have made it closer to 6.5, and even that I would have leaned under. But 7.5, you have to lay about $1.40. But I think it's worth it because I think this bet wins closer to 2 out of 3 times. I like that bet. I'll give you another one, Anthony. Tyler Glasnow, great pitcher for the Dodgers, over 16.5 outs. 65% of the time last year, he went over 16.5 outs. Again, he went through a great stretch after he just built up his arm strength. He was getting it almost every single time. I know he's a great pitcher. I think he gets this 5 2/3 innings here.
Minnesota, right? And that lineup is dreadful.
Well, they also they strike, yeah. But the only negative is in this, they actually do strike out a lot, which for my out bet is actually not good because they strike out. They actually lead the league in Ks, I believe, or they at least they did last year, and they've been up there this year. But I do think that Glasnow should have success. I think he gets his 6 innings and gets out of Dodge.
All right. Anything side Phillies?
Yeah.
Phillies and Wheeler?
Look, the only way, Zach, I got to tell you something. I don't know if you agree with me. I probably now, with Strider out, I probably rank Zach Wheeler the best starter in the National League.
I knew you were going there. Yep. Totally.
Yeah, I really probably would. I think he's that good. I'm going to look what the current line is on the Phillies game. It looks like, Anthony, it is, where is it? Minus 125. It looks like minus 125. Look, the only way I can I think Wheeler is like that good, that dominant. I'm always looking at his side, and I think again that's a reasonable number. Now, Gray has been a good pitcher, as you know, but he's also a little bit erratic. I would lean though the Phillies, maybe even in the 5-inning line, because I don't trust the Phillies bullpen right now. I don't know if you agree with me on that. It's just been a little
we were just
off.
talking about it. I mean, last night Hoffman. I'm old school. I just want you one closer and everyone have roles and let Alvarado be the closer and then you start from there.
I don't get it. Look, Anthony, and we've been following this stuff forever. Certain things again I just don't get, and I wish it could be explained to me because I agree with you. I don't understand it. And I feel like the new way of baseball sometimes doesn't mean it's better all the time. Some of the things that they do, but the only way I can look is Phillies. But I probably lean 5-inning line just because there's a good chance I get 7 innings from Wheeler, so maybe it's not the right call. But in 5 innings, I don't have to deal with the Phillies bullpen. And again, I think Wheeler right now is my number 1 power rated pitcher in the National League. My lean there would be that. Another side I like. George Kirby's one of my favorite pitchers, Seattle Mariners, Anthony. You can get him around plus 105, I think, area against a good pitcher in Chris Bassett. But I like Seattle with Kirby taking a little small price against Toronto. I think when Kirby pitches, I actually think he's a chance to be a Cy Young kind of guy. I lean Seattle there, and that's probably my favorite side of the day.
How about Sixers and in the NBA tonight?
Yeah. Well, look, Anthony, the Sixers, as I said, they're just look. I really am going to like the Sixers in the playoffs.
Heads, baby.
That's where I'm really gonna make my bones. I think that Philadelphia, again, if they can get this 7, they're probably going to get the 6 seed. But if they get this 7 seed, which I see no reason why they wouldn't. Okay. I really think that they're better than, again, we talked about, I think they're better than Milwaukee. I think they're better than Cleveland. I think they're better than all these teams. The only team that you want to say on paper is better than them is Boston.
Yep.
Boston is going to be a behemoth. Boston has crazy depth. They have everything, Boston. That's going to be a hard matchup. But you know what? I really, for the first time, Anthony, really, truly, I can't even tell you how many years, I really like the coach. And I know we've talked about it a bunch. And I think you really see the difference. Now, if Embiid is the Embiid that we saw for the first till he got hurt, who was by a mile the best player in the NBA, maybe they get it done. And maybe we have like a special year because Maxi's taken that jump. They don't miss Harden for anything. The role players are playing well. Again, this is a team I would not want to step in front of come playoff time. Anthony, let me give you a couple props.
Yeah.
In the NBA that I see some edge, and I'm going to give you, sorry, looking at my screen. Taylor Hendricks, Utah Jazz. Now, Taylor Hendricks, Anthony Hendricks, averages 4.5 rebounds in 20 minutes a game. He's now getting 27 minutes a game. I don't need to be a Yale graduate to realize he shouldn't be 4.5 rebounds still. He's averaging 6.5 rebounds the last 5 weeks since he got it. They're making it 4.5. Thank you. I'll take it. Similar situation. Chris Murray, okay, 3.5 rebounds for a total. His last 20 games, he's been getting real minutes because this Portland team, Anthony, has Drek, okay? He's averaging 5.5 rebounds. He's 16-4 over 3.5 rebounds. Thank you. I'm going to take it. Again, sometimes it doesn't have to be that easy. But it is. I just have to search and find these bets. And I got a good one for you. I don't even know how to spell the guy's name. That's okay. Mazin Pereira. I come up with, man. All right. Yeah.
You're out of your mind.
Maozinha, whatever that is. Pereira. But we make ourselves laugh here. You have to keep it light. All right. San Antonio Spurs. He's going 8, 9, and 11 rebounds, averaging over 33 minutes a game. I looked up his G League.
No, you didn't.
I have to. This is what I do.
Insane.
Yeah, I told you I'm up at 5 a.m. doing this. His G League stats, he's averaging over 7.5 rebounds in 20 minutes a game. Now he's getting over 30. Spurs, very not much to play. He's getting over 30 minutes a game. Look, call me crazy. Again, I'm projecting him over 9.5 rebounds based on those minutes. He got 7.5 and 20 in the G League. He's getting about 10 in the NBA, getting over 30 a game in only 3 games. But I'm taking over 7.5. The first name's not quite as good as your son's, but it has the first letter, and I like that fact, so I like it.
I love it. Oh my God!
And I'll give you one last one, Anthony. Fred VanVleet, Houston Rockets. Since Sengun got hurt, he's averaging over 18 a game, 15-8 to over 14.5 points. I think that has some value as well. And again, Anthony, I got to say it. Brad'sBestBets.com. I am up over 200 units, betting 1 unit per game. There's no one, and I say this 100% confident, there's no one in the world who has that kind of record. I encourage everyone to look at it.
No, you are the true Rain Man of props.
I try to be, my friend.
You are.
I spend enough time doing it.
You're amazing. Incredible.
And I'm looking for Anthony when we do
about just the geek nerd. I get to nerd out with you through it. And
I love it. And I look for Anthony when we do our NFL season wins. That stuff's up, by the way. And we'll have to have an episode with that where you tell me when that's good, when you want to just an NFL prop season win bet. Well, what we're thinking about, I've already bet 14 of them. So
no, you haven't. All right.
Dude, yeah.
No spoilers, because I could dive into that all day long.
Yeah.
We could do a whole separate show on that.
Yeah,
that
but Anthony,
good.
again, I'm very excited about the Sixers, and I really think as a Sixer fan and everyone watching, again, I think, look, would you rather Embiid got hurt during the playoffs like he's gotten hurt the last 17 years? Or would you rather he got hurt during the middle of the year or the end of the year if he comes back and he's healthy? The regular season doesn't mean anything. Let's call a spade a spade. If this guy's healthy at the end, man, I mean, it has a chance, Anthony. It really does have a chance. I'm super pumped.
Brad, great stuff, my brother. We
Appreciate
love
you.
it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
You're the best.
Have a great day. And speaking of the Sixers, coming up in just a moment, we're going to talk to Keith Pompey from the Inquirer and dive into, because they are. Listen, I got the itch. Like, I got that little tingle going on with this squad. I think they're dangerous. We'll see what Keith has to say coming up. And let me tell you about the Bet Parks app. So, all that stuff that Brad is a genius when it comes to stuff like you can see it. He is locked in. Although I've seen VG feverishly writing down all of Brad's plays. Like, he's unbelievable. Well, do something. You could play it all on the Bet Parks app. Get into the zone with the Bet Parks Sportsbook app. I'm telling you, whether it's live, like in-game stuff, whether it's casino stuff, it's all kinds of fun. You could just have a lot of stuff. They have all those props, sides, totals, parlays, same game parlays, all the stuff you love to play. If you win your first $10 bet, you can earn $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. Bet Parks. Download the app. Play along with us. Got to be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll come back in just a moment with Keith. But JP, take it away.
Absolutely. Well, now that you got a little bit of disposable money from the BetParks app, well, why don't we go to the ballpark, ladies and gentlemen, with the Game Time app? They make it happen right now. And of course, guys, this weekend, the Phils will be back after this card series. We got the Buccos coming into town. And I don't know if you guys feel it outside, but it's starting to feel like spring. So why not head down to the ballpark? And you still got some time to take advantage of the opening day offer that Game Time has for us. But first off, do yourself a favor. Download the free Game Time app, and you will see how accessible the app is. You can see your seat right before buying, and you can see all the fees before the checkout page here, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, like I mentioned, that promo for the opening day here, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with the code First Pitch. That is FIRSTPITCH. And you'll get $20 off from March 25th through April 14th. So you still got some time here. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you, Game Time.
All right, JP. This portion of the program brought to you by the BetParks Sportsbook app. And now joining us, I cannot wait because we got another game tonight and it's starting. This is it, the last week of the regular season. And joining us, he does such a wonderful job covering the Sixers for the Inquirer. It's my daily read. He is my main man, Keith Pompey. Keith, good morning.
What's popping? What's up, man? How you doing?
Yo, you look good, brother. I actually get to see you now when we do our chats.
yeah. I like the show, man. I'm a big fan.
Thanks, brother. When do we show your high school picture? We have your high school yearbook picture.
Oh, Lord.
You look great. No, man. And then, wait, we had you
the
running
only person
track.
in the whole school. Yeah, I was the only person in school that had a mustache. That was my claim to fame.
I love it. But let's get down to business a little bit. Dude, I'm starting to feel the tingle, man. I love the way things are falling into place. Give me your 50,000-foot view.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. When you say to yourself, you mean y'all needed to go into San Antonio and win in double overtime and Tyrese Maxey had to get 52 points and you walk away excited, people are going to say, what are you talking about, dude? That's like one of the worst teams in the league. But the way that they did it, the way that they had several guys step up, we're talking about it right now. And they have a 5-game winning streak going on. Once Joel's last game that he played, he had 30 and 12 in 23 minutes.
He's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous, that dude.
Yeah. And he's talking about like the game I hadn't sped up in my head yet. So, I was one of those guys where you look at the team and you say after they made the trades that the team was worse, right? But now you look at Joel coming back. And you're seeing how things are starting to fall in place. Like, for instance, the Milwaukee Bucks are struggling. There's other teams who are struggling. Look, Cleveland slid all the way down to number 5, right? So, I think the Sixers, there is some hope now. There's some hope that if they get the 7th seed or higher, that maybe they can do something in the playoffs. And if you would have asked me the same thing 3 days ago, I would have said, come on, man, why are you asking me that? Because they're going to get smacked, but it looks good. So it's some optimism.
Well, and here's kind of why I'm very excited. And obviously everything hinges on the big fella. And you look at him, and I was talking to Legs about this, and Tim Legler and I were talking about Embiid now having the freshness, right? Not having gone through a whole season. Now, obviously, he's got to get his wind back, and that will come. But the freshness in his legs will be there for what could be a sustained run. And then the Maxi piece, Keith, he basically filled the suit, right? Like the suit fits him as being Joel's co-star. Like everything about it. Like I got excited over San Antonio because I looked and it was Maxi doing whatever he had to do to try to win. And, the fact is he plays with a joy. He's not going to have any issues like Harden and when it comes to sagging and bringing his team down. So those two factors had me legitimately excited. So
we lost Keith.
Oh, okay.
We'll bring him back once he gets back.
All right. As soon as we get Keith back, we'll bring you. We'll make sure we get him back. But that piece of it really excites me. Like when I look at, I keep looking at having Embiid and Maxi and that 2-star thing. I think we have them, JP. It really, like, that's to me the basis of optimism.
Yeah, I thought you guys didn't like my purple shirt or something, and you cut me off or something like that.
Never.
I thought that's what it was. Nah, you were talking about Maxi, right? Maxi being the co-star, and you are correct. I think that from day one, this was like one that there was, never a competition, like coming in there, like, Maxi, it's kind of like, as the guys say around the way, yeah, this is my young boy and this is my old head. My old head has my best interest. He knows that once I leave, he's going to hand me the mantle. He also knows that once he can't do things, he's going to look at me to take that starring role. And that's how it is. And if we're going to be real, like, let's be real. Like, Maxi is so much better. He's great, but he's so much better when Joel's there because of Joel's presence, teams can't defend Maxi the way that they want to because they're just going to open things up. So you are correct. I mean, I think that this is a relationship that a lot of people don't know from day one. Joel can be a little moody. I mean, let's just be real. But Maxi was that one guy who would always come in the locker room and make Joel smile. Like, and it was always like, why are you so happy, man? We got to go to practice. And then, so, you know what I mean? So you have that. And like, there's also times then there's breaking actions. You can see the two looking at each other, smiling, chatting. So, you know what? I think that this is the best partnership that Joel Embiid has had because the thing is first of all, he's not on the same level when he came in the stage of his career as like a Jimmy Butler, as a James Harden. But at the same time, he's a young guy. He's only going to get better. But at the same time, we don't have to worry about whose team is it. We know it's Joel's, and we know Max is just excited to be the coach.
Yeah, you're spot on. So let's talk about how it fills in around them, right? And I'm curious because having those two creates all that space, and now you have a lot of role players. You see Oubre playing well, right? I think we got Keith got froze.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So he had that poor Keith got that face frozen. But what'll be interesting. What'll be interesting is to see how it all plays around him.
Yeah.
With all the role players. You're going to have Tobias and you're going to have Oubre. You're going to have Buddy Hield off the bench. The Buddy Hield thing, I keep waiting. And I don't know. I still feel bullish on Hield just because of what he can do.
Right.
Just because he can shoot the ball and extend the floor.
Yeah, and if you just put this team around a bunch of wing players who can shoot and play defense, especially when Maxi and Joel are just going to be taking on Joel's going to be taking on those double teams, so it's going to open up the floor for everyone else. Everything should follow suit for this team once we get the ball rolling, we get into this playoffs here.
Yeah, I again, and to me the biggest factor, and we have talked. We have him. Yep. Let's try it one more time. Sorry about that, Keith. Hey, buddy. Let's see.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, sorry about that, brother. It's the new tech, baby. Like, it's the new way. We're close, right? But sometimes you get the glitches of the whatever internet's happening. The other aspect is we're talking about the role players and how they all fill in around those two. You got, different. You'll have Oubre, who's playing really good ball, right? You'll have Tobias, Buddy coming off the bench. How do you kind of see the rotation?
What I see the rotation is right now, I mean, and no offense to Tobias, but I think he's been struggling. And so there's two ways to look at it, a good way and a bad way. Like Kelly Oubre has shown us that he can fit in and he can be the guy. Like I look at him right now, because he's just been the most dependable outside of Maxi and Embiid. So you got to look at him to be the guy that does it. Now, the thing is, Tobias has been struggling. He's been banged up. And Buddy Hield has really struggled, right? So you look at that and you say to yourself, okay, they're winning games right now with these two guys not playing well at all. So the hope is when they get in the playoffs, if they can turn that around, they could just become a better team when everything snaps or everything gets into play. But if we're talking about rotation, and here's another guy that people haven't really been talking about because he's been injured, DeAnthony Melton. DeAnthony Melton has only played 5 games since December the 30th, but right now he's questionable for the next game. So that tells you that he's coming back. So what I'm saying is, like, right now you look at it and this team can only go up. But if we're going to do a rotation, it's going to have to be like Kelly Oubre, Tobias in the starting lineup, right? That's the 5 with Kyle Lowry. But then, when we're talking about coming off the bench, you're going to have Buddy. You're also going to have Nico Batum, Paul Reed. And then I feel like you have campaign, but I really feel like it's going to come down to, like, who are they playing, who's playing well.
Yeah, the
That's
matchups.
matchups. But I do the fact that Tobias is struggling, and I know that a lot of people are down on him, but you factor in they're only going to get better once he turns it on. The same thing for Buddy Hield, who's like been shooting 12% the last 3 games from three. So once he gets it going, I feel like the team is only going to be better.
Well, it's so fascinating because the Hield thing. Now, with the space that Joel will provide, I mean, you have to extrapolate that at some point he's going to feel it, right? Like at some point, Buddy Hield's is going to start knocking down those shots. That's what he's always done. It's weird because the first 5 games he was out of his mind, and then we haven't seen that since.
Yeah, and you know what, and but also those first 5 games, it was also one of those things where it was a heavy dose of Buddy. Like, you remember, people were injured. It was him and Campaign, which was crazy. Like, they first came out, the first game that they played, they were like the number 1 and the number 2 option. I feel like what Buddy has to do is he has to just get a little bit more comfortable in regards to, like, the role that they have. But you are correct with Joel out there. You think that things are going to work out for him because and they will, but it's just, to me, it was like early on, it was, if you look at his shooting percentage, it really wasn't that good, but he shot the ball a lot and he ended up getting the points.
To me, the whole thing is different, and one of the reasons why it's different is because of Nick Nurse, and you have an excellent. Now, tell me if you agree with this, right? I think Nick Nurse, and you saw it the other night in San Antonio, like drawing up plays, the whole thing. He's the best in-game coach that they've had really since probably Larry Brown, right? Like when you look at what he can do, that wasn't Brett. Brett wasn't that guy. Doc was more of a CEO. Like I give Doc credit for, helping develop Maxi, for helping Joel get that elbow, closer shot work going on. But when it comes to in-game, they haven't had a guy like Nick Nurse, a true X and O strategist in there.
Yeah, and not a knock to those other two, but it's not even close.
Right.
I mean, no, it's not. And that's the thing. Like, Nick will see something, he'll do something outside the box, and people think it's crazy. And then next thing you know, it's working out. I mean, the thing is, think about this. He closed out a game with Ricky Council IV and KJ Martin, right? And both of those guys contributed. They contributed well. He does things that, some players may get upset with, like, okay, Nico Batum, you're off tonight, but if we need you to come in and do an inbounds for 1 second, you got to play. And he gets guys to buy in to do that, because most players are like, what you mean? I'm not doing that. If I'm off, I'm off. You're not going to mess up my stats, right? So, yeah, Nick Nurse is a great coach, and you look forward to seeing what it is. I mean, let's think about it. We remember how when he went up against Brett, went up against Doc in the playoffs, and he came out with these crazy lineups, crazy defensive schemes, and they seemed to work against the Sixers. Yeah, he's a great coach, man. I have to give him credit for that a lot.
How is his temperament? I mean, you spent the year with him this year. What do you think about his temperament, his relatability to the players? Tell us a little bit more. Take us inside a little bit more.
Here's the thing about Nick, and I talked this, and I spoke to people in Toronto when he first got the job, right? And they said the thing about Nick is, he doesn't lie to players, he doesn't do anything, but initially they're all going to wonder like what's going on, and I think we had some of that, and the reason being is because Nick is a smart guy, and he's always thinking towards the playoffs. So he'll come out there, and let's say one guy will start one game, and then the next game he doesn't start. He doesn't get a lot of minutes, but then someone else will. And he does a crazy lineup. And the whole thing is when he was in Toronto, and it's the same here, people are like, okay, what's going on? Like, how come we didn't do this at the end of the game? How come we didn't do that? Well, what Nick is doing is he's getting it prepared for the playoffs. And what happens is when the playoffs come, a lot of the guys in Toronto were like, oh, we get it. We get it. And I feel like it's the same way here. Now, here's the one thing I will say about Nick Nurse. Think about this. He had to deal with the James Harden thing at the beginning of the season, right? He answered questions. And then all of a sudden they traded James. And then all of a sudden there goes the Kelly Oubre thing. Guess what happened? Nick Nurse was the guy out there answering questions about, Kelly Oubre, if he got in a car accident or was he hit by somebody, whatever happened, right? Then all of a sudden you get the Joel Embiid injury. You get the trade. You get this. And it just seems like that we look at it, it's been a roller coaster of a season, one where a coach would get fed up and this and that. And he's been the one out there answering the questions. He's been the one out there like, look, they're on a 6-game winning streak right now after going through all that stuff. With now they have Joel back. So I feel like that this guy, the way that he handled all that, the way that he didn't change. I mean, I believe they had like 33 different starting lineups, if not more this season. So for him to be able to still have his team in contention for a playoff spot speaks volumes of him as a coach.
Yeah, it really does. Like he seems to be able to, kind of make it all sticky, like keep everyone together. And he's got that kind of like mentality. And it's funny. It feels like you've been on this beat. I mean, you know this franchise inside and out. It feels a little different this year. I mean, we'll see. We know how good Boston is and the whole thing, but it does have a different vibe and I don't know if it's because of Simmons and then Harden, and then you replace that with Maxi's growth, and that automatically changes the feel around the whole squad. But it does feel different now than it has.
Yeah, it does, and I feel like I think I think it starts with the coach, right? It does. I mean, also Joel is a better player. I mean, he's the best player in the league.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does have a different vibe. Now, again, we'll see how it goes in the playoffs, right? To see if they can take advantage of some of the things we feel like they can. But I think that's when we really find out. But yeah, I mean, think about it. Maxi is an all-star this year. Maxi had 3 games of 50 points or more. I mean, Joel Embiid was putting up video game numbers that we haven't seen since Wilt Chamberlain. And to be honest with you, none of us were really around, besides the old heads, around to see Wilt. So the stuff that Joel was doing this season, no one in their lifetime, like the 30 or the 40 and under crowd saw this, right? So it's like, yeah, there is a completely different feel with this squad. And then guys were bought in. They had a bunch of role players. I mean, when the team was rolling, it kind of reminded me of the 2001 squad. And what I mean,
Yeah.
you had
The Euros.
the Euros, but you had the Euros. But what you had is you had a star in Allen Iverson, and you had a bunch of role players that bought in. But the difference was that team didn't have a Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking about yes. No, you know what? That's fascinating. You're right on, because it was all role players around AI. I don't know. I was thinking earlier the process.
Yeah, when they had, But yeah, I mean, if you think about it. Like when they were rolling, they had a bunch of hard hat guys.
Yeah,
who were
George Lynch, Tyrone Hill,
Tyrone,
Mutombo. Yeah.
and
No,
then
that's a good point.
look at this when they were rolling, you had Embiid and those guys. But the one thing that team didn't have, they didn't have a legitimate second star. Like you
No.
had Embiid, you know what I mean? But he was kind of like a role player too. But this team had Tyrese Maxey. So, you know what I mean? That's why it was so hard to deal with when Embiid got hurt, because everything crumbled a little bit. But that's also why Nick
That's
Nurse
a great point. Keith, that's a brilliant point. And you know what's interesting? It's also one to keep in mind for next year, because you have the clean slate, right? You have just Tyrese and Joel, and how do you build it? Like, do you need to go 3-star system? Now, I know there's the cap piece and, whether it's Paul George or whatever it is, but it also is something to keep in mind that, is 2 stars more effective than 3?
I mean, I think so. I mean, like you look at Miami and they had 3 stars, but see, here's the thing. They had 3 stars, but one of the stars had to convert to become a role player, right? You know what I mean? The same thing with the Boston Celtics, like Ray Allen. Like, yeah, they was like, okay, Ray, you're that guy, but I'm sorry, Ray, we need you to be in the corner and hit threes, right? So the thing is, if you can get a guy that's going to willing to get paid and take less of a role, it's going to work out. But if you got a guy talking about, I need the ball, and we all know that it's going to be Joel and then Tyrese, then maybe you might be better off just getting, a solid point guard to pair with him, or, a
Yeah.
D to. It's just one of those things where you just have to be careful, because this team dynamic was good and it can go back to being good. You just got to make sure there's somebody who's going to fit in and just welcome the role that you need from that. Because I believe it's to this particular point right now that you can't say to Tyrese, hey, you were great. You had 3 50-point games. You made the All-Star. You have to go back to being the third option. I think that bus has sailed, or that ship has sailed. You can't do that anymore.
No, I think it's spot on. Spot on. Do we have Keith in high school? Take a look. Here's my man, Keith Pompey from the Inquirer. Look at that handsome fella. Look at that. Look. Here you go, bro. You look good, man. By the way, the mustache makes you look like you're 35.
That's sometimes the only dude in high school that had a mustache. It was crazy.
I love it. There you go, man. The great Keith Pompey from the Inquirer. Dude, I love you, man. Keep up the great work. And now that we're back in this format, so we'll be having you on a lot, as always.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. And again, I'm a big fan of your show.
Yeah, come on. We do this a long time, brother. You're the man. Great Keith Pompey from the Inquirer checking in. We will come back in Cuz's Clubhouse, where we go over a bunch of different items with JP and VG. And I got something I want to present to the guys that has to do with an edict, religion and sport. And I kind of want to meld it because I believe that sports builds churches.
Okay.
All right. So I want to lay this out to the people. But let me tell you about Olipop. Oh, my.
You just create a jingle just like that?
Olipop. I can write it. I can't sing it. You actually have you carry it well. When we play the song in Spanish.
Yeah. We're going to do it tomorrow, too.
Yes, because they will win. They will beat Detroit for sure. So Olipop is the world's first functional soda. Yes. Classic soda taste, but it's the benefits of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients that will support gut health. It's good for you. It's soda that's good for you. It's funny. Anybody who comes in here and we give them the Olipop, they go nuts. They go, wow, this is actually good for you? Yeah. Like, including my kids. I take it home. There's only 2 to 5 grams of sugar. There's 9 grams of fiber per can All right. So VG likes his multigrain bread because that's what he is. He's like, I don't have to eat 4 slices. I can just drink a can of Olipop. And he loves it. It's available online over 30,000 retailers nationwide, including Wawa. Yes, our favorite Wawa. You can get Olipop right there. It's perfect. Wawa has the classic root beer, which I recommend with a big scoop of vanilla bean ice cream. I make that for my Anthony. And strawberry vanilla. My Massimo loves the strawberry vanilla. You're going to check that out. Use the code PHLY20. You get 20% off your next Olipop order. All right? The discount applies to one-time orders, not subscription orders. Olipop sold again online. DrinkOlipop.com and Amazon. Get it Wawa, Target, Wegmans, ShopRite, Go Puff, you name it. Olipop. Check it out.
Absolutely. And real quick, guys, just want to take a quick second and genuinely thank everyone for tuning into Tuesday's edition of the Anthony Gargano Show. If you guys are enjoying today's show, do us a favor. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. When you hit the subscribe button, there'll be a little bell there so you can get notified when the Anthony Gargano Show is live. And, of course, if you want to listen to us later on, put it in the car. You can do that as well. You can listen to it in podcast format. You can find it wherever you stream podcasts. All you got to do is subscribe. Leave a little rating. We would appreciate that as well. And while we're at it, guys, join the fun family we got going on here. Become a diehard. You get exclusive content. You get discount on merch right now. You guys can see for the flyer set. And listen, I'm hoping that this brings a little magic here today. We got the dry guy, the fly guy t-shirt. This was a hot seller here for the Flyers. We got a whole other bunch of great stuff on that locker as well, including the 4for4 t-shirt for the Cuz, of course. Make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you guys become a diehard. And thank you for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it.
Welcome back. It's the Anthony Gargano Show with this portion of the program brought to you by Rite Aid. Buy all your favorite goods at your local Rite Aid, man. Part of the neighborhood. All right, VG, JP, it's Cousins Clubhouse. And boys, I'll start this portion with a story and an edict.
All right.
I heard VG said that Father Sean is in the chat room.
He's in the chat room. Shouting out, hey, Cuz.
I love Father Sean. So I want him to hear this. All right. So because I need I need to have a sports council of clergy. So some priests, rabbis, ministers. I want to put together.
I'm a former altar boy.
Okay. I want to get a whole thing because I want to run this by. So I want to get deep for 1 second. So a friend of mine, of Danny.
Okay.
Right.
What's up,
He's
Danny?
got a little boy, Lorenzo. Right.
Great name.
So he's got a lovely wife, Dana, and his other daughter, Mia. They're a beautiful family. So Danny's a sports nut. He's got tickets to the Phillies. It was the Bryce Harper 3 home run game. Okay. So Dana, who actually cuts my hair, right? I work at the cutting point on Oregon Avenue.
She does good work.
Yeah, she's terrific. So I've been going there for, I don't know, 25 years. So she says, you can't go to the game. You can go, but you got to go late because Lorenzo had CCD. Now, for those people who don't know, because you didn't know what CCD was, if kids go to public school.
Shouts to Queen of Heaven. CCD.
I went. Yeah.
Right. Like if you go to public school, but are of the Catholic faith, you go to class.
That's right.
Right. So you go to a weekly, religion class.
It was Tuesday night for me. Every Tuesday night.
I got you because I went to Catholic school. We get our communion or confirmation. Suddenly, these kids would show up. We never knew who they were. They must have been going to classes and popped in with us.
Right. Exactly.
That's
right.
generous.
So that's the CCD, right?
Right.
Like, so Lorenzo had CCD, and Danny's like, "No, man, we got tickets to the game. It's the Bryce Harper game." Well, lo and behold, he's late. They wind up going, but they're late. Bryce's first home run. Now, Lorenzo, I think, is 8. I think he's 8 years old. Lorenzo's first home run lands in his seat.
Oh, man. That's got to
In
hurt.
the outfield, right. There was, it's amazing because the guy, it goes right by where they would be sitting, and the guy drops it, and the ball falls into Danny's seat.
That's rough.
And he's like freaking out. He's like, I missed the ultimate father-son moment.
Oh, my God.
And having a Bryce ball. He missed the ultimate moment for the Bryce ball. And he was like, I'm so mad at Dana, his wife. It's a violation. You got to call her out on it. The whole thing. And listen, moms do mom stuff, right? Moms are the glue to any nuclear family.
Amen.
All right. My wife, right? Like, it's the whole thing. Like, we had the same conversation today. Like, she has Tomasmo, did you put your deodorant on? Right? You're gonna stink. Yeah. You smell like a onion hoagie. It doesn't. Masmo's a primo, right? Like, it's like, dude, you make sure you wear your.
Getting
you
flamed.
stink. Did you brush your teeth? Your teeth look, yellow, whatever. It's just like all that stuff. Anthony, did you do your hair? Like that's what moms do. The moms make us out so that we're not like animals.
They're like the CEO.
Leave it right of a home.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
For sure.
So Dana's just looking out for his, or their son's religious health.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, I always say this. I believe that sports builds churches. And I truly believe that because, especially here in Philadelphia, but I think it all over. Because when you go to a game or you go out and you consume sports with your brethren, it's community.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of sports is that it knows no denomination, right? We're all equal.
Yeah.
We're all one.
It's true.
It doesn't matter, race, creed. None of that stuff matters. It just matters that we all share a common good.
Yeah.
And we share that common good, which happens on the field. But there's such beauty in sports. and when you get that closeness and you're high-fiving strangers or hugging people, that's to me what God would want.
Yeah.
Right? Like God would want that, us together under with you being unified. And I think sports has that kind of impact on us.
We have a common enemy. It's like the devil. It's the Cardinals tonight.
Right.
Yeah. The Braves, usually.
Yeah, the Braves.
Dallas.
You got a lot of rituals around
Yes.
it, whether you're watching at home or at the game. I know I go to the game. We get there early. We tailgate with the same people. We take a walk at the 5th inning to get something to eat. There's rituals about everything, whether I'm sitting home, whether I'm at the game. There's a theater to it. Like it's almost
Right.
like.
And if there is a church, and look, listen, if God is everywhere, right? So God's at the ballpark, right? Like there's now again, I'm not saying in lieu of going to church or going to temple
We're
or
going to have this
whatever,
conversation.
right? Like, I'm not saying it, but I do believe the sense of community
For sure.
there's a spirituality in that.
I really coincided with this story because my final year of CCD, 8th grade, it cut into my football practice time. So I was playing football for midget leagues in Cherry Hill. And so on Tuesdays, I had to miss like the first 20 minutes of practice. And, little JP was like, Mom, I got to get better.
Right. Like your development.
Yeah.
And not to mention with your team.
Right.
Like sports is wholesome.
Yeah.
Like the activity, right? Like the body, like God gives you a body. Like, so that the activity of honing it, being part of a team, keeping you out of trouble. Like there's so many positives. It's why I'm such a bitch. It's why I started my Yo Kid Sports, my youth podcast, because I'm a believer in it's healthy for young people.
Yeah, for everybody.
Yeah.
I go tonight or I go Thursday, I'll sit with 38,000 people. I don't care who they voted for. I don't care what they live. They're vegetarian, vegans. I don't care anything about it. We just cheering on the Phils, and we have
And
you're a
that
Phils fan,
connection,
yeah.
like the connection you have is awesome. I go back to with the Phillies in the ballpark, during the last 2 runs and the singing and all that stuff and the greater good that it does with, the drop in violent crime. I mean, especially the way we do it, like the city comes together, like all of a sudden, who's buying someone a coffee at Wawa or who's letting somebody go at a stop sign, and is the road rage incidents like dissipate.
Wow, I almost feel like when the Phillies had their run, like we were in a violent period, and violence kind of tailed off for like the 2 or 3 weeks every day.
And the Eagles were like, because the Eagles were well.
We're doing well. That time frame, I think that was the lowest the crime has been in a long time at that point, because we had everything going on with Phillies. The Birds are playing really well. Even the Union were going on their run as well. So you're right. It does bring people together. And I think about, like, every time I go, I typically go with friends, family, friends, and like you see old friends, old neighbors that when you lived in the city. It's just like it's like a little reunion, especially like those afternoon games when you have 38,000 in there. It feels like that church feel. Like when you go to church, you see your babysitter from when you were 10, right? And you get to catch up a little bit. Phillies games do feel like that a lot of the time. When I go down to
community, that's and one of the things why I love PHLY and the ALLCITY network, and why I got involved in this whole project, was I love community. Like, I think like it bridges. Look, I love story time. I love sports. I'm a nerd, the whole thing. But the only reason why sports media works and I have a job is because it's a shared experience among, scores of people, and that there's interest. But and we need to foster that. Like, we need to be there's no pecking order and whatever. All I have ever considered myself was some idiot on the radio who was a conduit to the fan base.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. I mean, the fact of the matter is we all love this stuff. So here's my thing, and I need our religious council, the religious leaders that we'll put together, right? With Father Sean, and we'll get some Rabbi Sal, who's one of my listeners from back in the day, ministers, all that.
I'll tap into the pagan community, maybe.
I'm a fan of the pagan community.
They're big fans of the show. They know you dig them.
Yeah, no, I listened about the universe, right?
Yep.
It's all about God.
Yes.
Right? So my only point is that there should be like it's like a card or a get out of jail free or whatever.
For
you wanna call
Lorenzo
it.
and Danny's situation.
Correct. So like school, like it should be an excused. Sports should have like an excused absence. Like, listen, I wasn't there because I was at the game.
Oh man, now you're saying you can miss religious events or ongoing activities
not your
to go to a game.
Confirmation.
This could be a tough.
But
Where's
like,
a tough group of religious
I
folks to
know.
get
I'm
together?
bringing it to the people. Right? I'm bringing it. Like, is there a way to have this? Like, listen. You can't go every night.
I mean, these premier soccer guys, they're up early Sunday mornings. They're never going to
6
mass.
in the morning.
They
Yeah,
give them a
seriously.
But
free
you
pass
get
for no mass.
But it's the community, right? Like you're serving the community. You're a part of the community. Is there a way to tie it in?
I wish you would have been around when I was a kid explaining this to my Colombian dad.
It's a great argument, right?
Because he would have been like, no, we're going to church. Like, there's no way.
I'm not saying you don't go to church. I'm saying
Or CCD.
like or
CCD.
CCD. I'm saying, look, there's this moment that my friend Danny had with his little Lorenzo,
Right.
and it would, if they have the ball to commemorate it, it's a lifetime.
To be fair, Danny and Lorenzo do still have a pretty good story to tell for years down the line. How they
I know, but the
missed.
ball, it's a better story. If
What is
Danny
it?
catches the Bryce Harper home run ball and goes, "Here, son," and all of a sudden that Bryce baseball will be an heirloom that Lorenzo will pass down to his kids.
Well, remember that when that happened, that kid from South Jersey, Dylan, he gets brought down with Bryce Harper. What if that would have been Lorenzo trading balls with Bryce Harper, taking pictures by the dugout? Yeah, that's a tough one.
I think that ball dropping in their seat, that home run ball, them
Yes,
not being
Andrew.
there, there's significance to that. I think that's the big man saying, hey, I see you, I hear
It's
you.
symbolic.
You should have been here.
It
You should have been
landed
here.
right in their seat. The guy dropped it behind the row behind him, and the ball drops. Is there an excuse like Father Sean? Is there like a card that I go here? And again, it's not to be abused, but it's not to take advantage of it. But or same thing with school, like. It's opening day, or I don't know,
Like a hall pass, essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
Opening day,
a hall
skip school.
pass is the exact terminology I was looking for.
You look, like a little hall
To
pass.
get out of jail free was not a good analogy. Hall pass is a good analogy because it's an extension of spirituality.
Well, it's good for the soul.
Yes.
Right? So that's what all this stuff is. It's all about salvation and good for the soul.
Correct.
So going to this game is healing. It's positive for the soul. So I think you got a decent case. I think it's a bit of a violation. They show up and the fans are like, you're missing a ball dropped right on your seat if you were here 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Like, man, did people have to dig it in there like that? Jeez, very creepy.
No, you just go up to Father Mike with your hall pass. Be like, Father Mike, I will say 10 Hail Marys, 5
And
Our
go
Fathers,
Phillies.
and a go Phillies.
And
Can I go to this
how
game?
many Eagle chants? Right? Like,
Speak-
it's a part of it.
How about the hymns? We talk about church. I used to have to go every Tuesday at 2:00 to practice these songs and hymns for Wednesday morning mass. We got great hymns. Eagles fight song, Dancing on My Own, all these, the Sixers song.
There's parallels. I was toying with a book idea that kind of brings it all together, all the correlations and the parallels to a religious experience. And the first time, and I wrote it, and I did it. It was the mistake of a young writer. I wrote a book called The Sunday Pilgrimage about the Eagles' Super Bowl to Jacksonville, and I drew a lot of the religious symbolism and the parallels in that book.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried it. I didn't execute the way I wanted to, but it was like it was an effort. We're sitting by the St. Charles River in Jacksonville, and we set up camp, right? We were doing the show. I was at WIP. We were doing the show there, and it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Rhea and Howard and all these people, and everybody's hanging out. And Glenn, I was with Glenn. It's Steve. Steve and I drove down to Martirano. It was awesome. We had a whole thing. And so we're doing this, and I'm looking at all the people. I'm going, must be like the Great Awakening by the Gasper River in Tennessee, which was the spiritual awakening that happened in the 1800s.
Like a pilgrimage to Mecca almost.
Yeah. Like, what's the difference?
I'm on board.
All right.
We're with you. You mean you're preaching to the choir?
I think we're going to need to have some moms on this council.
Yeah, I think you need some
make
moms.
sure we got an
That's really
argument.
We'll definitely get some moms on the
You got to
council.
convince the moms.
All right.
Yeah, we need some
All
moms.
right. Gad, you have the floor now, VG.
Oh, I got a
You
little
get to crow. Now, this is a big deal.
crowing about my boy,
Yes.
Rojas?
Yes.
Love this kid.
Rojitas.
I'm going to go my Howie version. Love this kid. He's just a grinder. He's been working at the cage all week, just killing it. You know, he's such a good energy in the locker room. You just knew this kid was going to put the work in and come through with a really good game like last night. And the future's just so bright for him. Just a great kid with a high motor.
Wow.
That was fantastic.
impressive.
Let's go.
That was impressive, man. That was very good. Well, guess what?
He's got
Your
higher
boy.
batting average than Nick Castellanos. Hey.
3 hits. 3 hits for Rojas.
Yeah, man. I mean, is it a fluke? We'll see. Let's give it another week.
No, we do need you to keep crap talking on Rojas,
Well, I mean-
because if that continues to happen, we might
So
be
you're
on
saying
something.
there's some correlation
Yeah.
maybe of me crap talking on Rojas
Yeah.
and him having a good game?
Yeah.
Little Tortorella, tough love for the kid. We'll see how long we can ride it out.
All right. Time now for the best and worst of the evening. Give me your best and worst of the evening, VG.
The best is I'm a hoop head. I love college hoops, and Connecticut and Danny Hurley.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
he's annoying, but man, would I love to play for that guy. And if I had
He's a great, like,
if I had
he's
a
great
son
coach.
playing,
Yeah.
I would be like, you have to play. If you have an opportunity to go there, you just have to go there. He just exudes such great energy.
how
He's
about-
smart. The defense is tenacious. And to get
How
kids to
about
play
but
defense right
the
now.
defense is tenacious, but you know what is like astounding to me is that offense, the movement in that offense.
The motion is crazy.
It's insane.
It's confusing for me to watch.
I
and
know.
I can't
And
imagine
I
being
was
on the
trying.
court.
You know what's funny? I was watching the game last night, and I was just looking at their offense, and I was kind of trying to figure out, that motion. It's incredible. It really is how they move the
They're
ball
just
around.
blowing people out. Like covered the spread, I think, every game by a healthy amount.
Yeah, they're amazing. What was your worst?
I'll pile
Castellanos?
on. Yeah, I'll pile on with Nicky. He's looked terrible in the field, and his bat looks equally bad this year. And he's got a bit of a free ride here with the first year moving into Ben's house with the mojo. We thought he's all right last year, but the guy's been kind of a disappointment. And it pains me to say it because he's kind of likable. He does good quotes when you talk to him and stuff.
I love him. So I like
But
Castellanos.
he's got to turn it around, man. He's got to, whatever Rojas is doing in the cage, Nicky needs to follow suit.
All right. JP, the best and worst of the evening.
The best I'm going to go with, obviously, listen, and at 1:15, Fletcher Cox will be hanging it up. We'll have his presser talking about his retirement. I have to go with Fletcher here. He was one of my favorites growing up, and I still have his jersey. I'm probably going to have to hang that bad boy up. So we're going to give a big yo to Fletch. Thank you for a great career here in Philadelphia. And the worst, I'm going to go with Aramark. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah, this is a big story,
Yeah.
and it could affect the Sixers game. Good, tell everybody about it.
Yeah, so the workers are going on strike right now. So there's a possibility that tonight, if you're going down to the center, we will see what they'll do as far as workers go. But the concession stands, that is up in the air. Put that on the injury report as well. But it's definitely sad to see. I believe they brought the rat out. They're standing right outside the
rat
center.
is
Yeah,
out. I've seen pictures.
yeah, we never want to see that though.
No, and it kind of like
The rat.
it kind of does sting for them. I know a couple workers down there, and if they work at Wells Fargo and then they work at Citizens Bank in the same week, they don't aggregate the hours for them so they can get better benefits and stuff. So they keep them separate so they're part time. And
Yeah, it's
you
not
know,
right.
You could do a little better by the workers.
You could. And
For
those
sure.
people are the backbone of events.
Amen.
Hey, I was an usher
Were you really?
in high school and college. Yeah.
Where-
I worked at the Spectrum.
Oh, that's awesome, cuz.
Yeah. I worked
love
at the
that.
Spectrum. I used to wear the blue. I was an usher. The security wore the red jackets.
Okay.
Right? With the gray pants. I had the blue jacket with the gray pants. And if you got near like a match, the way the polyester, you would just go
Spontaneously combust.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was the worst, right? So you would get and I'll never forget, I made $18.50
For a game?
Yes. Before taxes. All right. So you would get every month you would get an event schedule, and you would have to circle like what event you would work, and you would have to pick like 18 of them. I forget the number that you had to do, and so I would always Flyer Sixers, and then every once in a while I'd have to do a concert, which I hated.
Some metal shows,
right? Which I hated.
Metallica concerts back in the
No,
It was
rowdy.
This was
I did Dead. Like it was hard to be an usher. The greatest thing, right? Like I'm at the Spectrum.
Can you even see any with all the haze
dude,
of the
the
Dead?
best is right. Like the people will come up to you and go, "Hey, well, so and so smoking in my room," and I'd be like, "What? Like, what do you want me to do? Take a whiff, right? Like, you got people out there to buy who's barefoot, who's walking around, seeing things, psychedelic. Everything you're worried about. You want me to go like police this thing? Get the hell out of here!"
So nothing has changed, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
Still
but
like
those
that.
workers are so important. I have like my beer ladies, Barb and Jen. I get my beers off them. The game is not, you hear the peanut lady, peanuts. She walks up and down the aisle. The cotton candy guy's so angry. He's just like, cotton candy here. But they're like all so part of it.
How about
they need to be compensated accordingly.
How about the guy at WrestleMania, the beer seller, and he had like this attraction here that he would cut the hole in the top of the beer so he could pour it quicker into the cup for these people. I was fascinated by this. This guy's taking the next step to give you that better experience.
Like they get paid dirt.
I know.
Dirt.
And they're so important.
All right, they get paid dirt,
and it grinds my gears.
And you look at like these big events and all the millions, billions, like the industry, what it is, it's got to trickle down more. Listen, it is what it is. I understand cost, but like you're talking about true working people.
Yes,
those people need to be compensated fairly,
and we got to do our part.
I'm all about those people.
We got to do our part. Like in our aisle, if the guy says you want to put a tip on this and you say no, we boo you in our aisle. Like you got to give the guy a buck or two or the lady a buck or two. They're carrying these things up and down stairs. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm with that.
So you do the boo, huh?
Yeah, we'll be like boo.
That's fantastic. I like that.
That's funny.
I like that a lot. Hey, you brought up WrestleMania. I have an idea. I want to run by you guys.
Okay.
So Bill Matz.
Oh my God, I already know where this is going. I'm in.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah.
So you see Bill. Like I love Bill. Bill's whole look is awesome. Right? Like he's got the long hair, right? He's got the cat, like he's got a big personality, the whole thing. So, and he loves wrestling.
Yep.
So I after the show yesterday, I had an idea. So Danny Cage, who does the Monster Factory, which is a wrestling school, right? Over in Jersey, they produce wrestlers. They teach them how to do things. And they train and they teach you how to do it, to become a wrestler. So I told them, I said, listen, I want to have Bill go to school, wrestling school with you. And he was like, I'm in, we'll do it. We'll shoot it. And then we can show snippets of it. We can create our own little docuseries.
It's a great idea.
Of how to make a wrestling star.
That's a top-notch idea.
With Bill Matz. You like that, Andrew?
I love that.
Best
Yeah, I would love
idea,
to see that.
Yeah.
Is Bill
This is your
in
best
on it?
idea. Yeah.
You like this?
Oh my God, I love this.
He fits it.
Yeah, he's perfect for this. Absolutely perfect for this. You mentioned the personality. Yes, he's 100% the best.
And he's got the look.
Yeah.
What kind of costume would he go with?
Oh
What-
yeah. That's
what do you
big
think?
Too.
Has he agreed to do it, Bill?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think he has a choice, Andrew.
No, I think he loves wrestling. So I'm thinking I'm making a dream come true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're definitely making a dream come
Who's he
true with
fighting?
that.
Now?
Yeah.
Like that's what we got to figure out. Who's he gonna?
Like I once had a great dream come true where during the baseball strike of '94, I was covering the Mets. So I wanted to play for the SCAD. Speaking of rats, I played for the SCAD team. Right?
Oh, yeah?
It was just spring training. So it was great. Like I played third for the SCAD team in spring training. And it was fun. Like, it was like I get to actually wear a uniform, and I hated the uniform. It was the Phillies, but that was the opportunity. But to actually play and write about it was a fun time.
We should. So Bill.
So this is great for Bill.
We should train Bill,
great for
and then we'll
us.
get like Denver or Chicago or Phoenix to train their wrestler. It'll be the all.
Have a
that's
big all-city
Yeah, that'd be
wrestling
good.
match.
we would
That's a
kick
good
our
idea.
Bill's
ass.
winning. Bill's winning the whole thing. He's taking it all the
Bill
way.
had the belt.
Yeah.
Bill
Put
did
money
the
on that one. Yeah.
I love. All right. So you guys are on board?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no brainer from our
120,000%.
perspective.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
All right.
Bring it on.
This is great entertainment.
All right.
Good
Last thing,
content.
I want to. The Joel Embiid teased this in on Twitter last night, and their new Sixer jacket. Now I love this Sixers jacket. I had the original version. And this is our back in the day moment, brought to you by Rite Aid. All right, get all your goods at your local Rite Aid. All right, back in the day moment, I had this jacket. Now it wasn't as dolled up, the patches and all, but I had the red Sixer jacket.
Look at that.
Look at that jacket
Oh
with
my
the Embiid. Right? I had the red Sixer jacket, and it was the starter one from back in the day. And now look at this. They're unveiling this new one. It looks great, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fire. That looks great.
Fire? You
Yeah,
go
Oh, I'm
fire?
buying
I go
that.
fire
Yeah,
with
that goes. Yeah, for
3
sale.
fireballs.
You
Definitely
got your
buying.
3 fireballs on that one? You like JP?
Well, first off, this one's for Jules. But yeah, just take my money. Just take my money. Give me that. I need that in my wardrobe. I need that. That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I like it. All right, lady, last thoughts?
Yeah, man, I got a couple comments and maybe one question. Roman says, most cussing I ever heard. I'm out on the eclipse. Yeah, I gotta say the
I'm
chat
an
is great,
idiot.
man. It's such a community in there.
I love the chat. That's why we want to do
Dave
this.
P loves your attire. Says, "Cuz ready for the Masters with the golf shirt on today." Sammy from
It's a
UK
tradition like
says
no other.
Tobias needs to lose 5 to 6 minutes a night, which I'm totally on board with. And maybe you've heard this. I don't know. Turnbull is the second Phillies pitcher in the last 100 years to begin a season with 2 starts with 0 earned runs.
What?
The other pitcher, Vinny Velasquez.
Well, that's a great stat.
Velo,
Double
man.
V, man.
Yeah, man. Last
That's
one.
a great
Only 2 in
stat.
100 years.
Wow.
Oh, my
Insane.
God. That's fantastic. Thanks, guys. You guys really helped make it. Again, it goes back to our community right here on PHLY. Thanks for hanging. We love you guys always. Be careful. All right. Enjoy the games tonight. And we'll see you in the morning.
We all silly like the mayor.